You gotta love that the witch laugh is part of the song. Based. Classic Grant Kirkhope dub. Coming at you live, Jake Paulers with a live Brug reaction. We're gonna do more game reviews today. And I did one of these pretty recently, so I don't even really feel the need to explain myself that much, but I will. Brief explanation, this is me going through a spreadsheet of all the games that I've played so far, and giving them a little vocal review, and then I give them a score and recommendation. Or no recommendation. The score you're not really supposed to think about too much, but I think I do stand by. These are like my personal opinions on games. So it's not like meant to be an objective thing or anything. I'm gonna turn off the music. You guys can supply your own tunes or background noise, or you can use this as background noise. There will not be a lot happening on screen. We're gonna have Brug right here, keeping an eye on things. But besides that, it's just gonna be a spreadsheet, so prepare for that. Sorry to anybody who's really like sick of hearing this spiel. We are close to the FromSoft games. We're close to a lot of shit. We're close to the end of the fucking list. So today I'm gonna kind of like skip through this section, like do a few of these. Maybe the Brug should be a little bit like small. Maybe not that big. These are all bullet hell games. I only remember a set number of them like distinctly enough to review them, but I will do the ones that I know. Then we might get onto Sonic, and maybe some other stuff. Then down here, like we got some fun sections down here. I think I would like in the future for one entire one of these streams to just be all the FromSoft games. Like Kingsfield shouldn't take too long, and then I just really want to spend an entire stream, like 2 or 3 solid hours, just talking about the FromSoft games because they're so fun to talk about. We got Humongous Entertainment PopCap games, which, by the way, I've had a few people get in contact with me, letting me know that a early build of Peggle has come out. It has been sort of like leaked or released. So I kind of want to play that. That has weird dev tools and like an unreleased level in it or something like that. And I must play every available Peggle level. I must! So, somebody also sent me, I'm sorry I'm like stalling before the reviews. Somebody sent me 50, I think, getting over it themed Peggle levels. I think it is 50. They just took the scenery of getting over it and made like every inch of it into a Peggle level. I don't know if they made it for me or if this just was a coincidence and they were like, oh, he likes Peggle, he played Getting Over It, I'll send him this thing I made. I don't know if I'm going to play all those levels, but I'll at least check that out. It's really fucking whack. And then I think the final stream will be just doing all the Street Fighter series. Look at this. This is beautiful, by the way. We're done with streaming Street Fighter games until another one comes out or 6 gets some kind of update. All these, it fits perfectly on one screen. That is so satisfying. This is the entire series of games that we did. I'm also just really happy that that series is over just because it was a long thing. It was like, we had been doing this for like 2 years or something. So, this was just really satisfying to me. To be able to just like dust my hands off on that list. And there were a couple, Street Fighter X Tekken, which I originally intended to play. We never got around to because the game is fucking like broken, but whatever. Okay, let's start with these. I think these will be kind of quick reviews. We'll see though. So Super Galaxy Squadron EX Turbo. This is a bullet hell shooter. We're going to be talking about bullet hell shooters a lot in the next couple of minutes or the next few minutes here. Somebody last stream commented and said, I'd just like to hear your opinion on bullet hells in general. And I've said this a lot whenever I play one of these games. There's like a particular style of bullet hell that I really like. The cave shooter. I like cave shooters, which is a company that makes these games. I don't like all their stuff, but like specifically games where there is like a ludicrous amount of bullets on screen. And your hitbox is like fucking tiny. There's like a bunch of like slow moving, but like really weird pattern bullets on screen with like beautiful sort of psychedelic looking patterns. Moving slowly, and you have a tiny fucking hitbox. And you have to survive against these like impossible seeming odds. Those are really cool to me. Ones that I don't like as much are ones like Donpachi, where there's a few projectiles. There's very few comparatively, but they move like wicked fast. So it's a lot more about like your reaction time than it is like whatever is being tested by a game like Mushihime-sama, which I think is a great example of a bullet hell, the kind that I like. Both of these are made by Cave, by the way, so saying I just like cave shooters is kind of ambiguous. That being said, Super Galaxy Squadron EX Turbo is one of the good ones. It's not perfect. I think a big problem that I have with a lot of bullet hell shooters, my main problem with a lot of them, is they can tend to be kind of cookie cutter and generic. With a lot of them just have generic ships as the enemies, like just spaceships, basically. And that's not terribly exciting to me compared to other bullet hells that are a little more imaginative. I think Super Galaxy Squadron EX Turbo lands more on the side of generic ships, but at least the ships are like colorful and kind of unique looking designs. It's got nice pixel art. It's nothing earth shattering, but it's got nice pixel art. Nice little like 16-bit kind of style. The gameplay is fun. I remember it being like just the right amount of challenging. I actually think this would be one of the best. Oh my god, I just like lowered my desk on accident. One of the best beginner shmups. It's on Steam. I think it's relatively cheap. And I think if you're looking to like get into games like this, then you should try this one out. I genuinely like it. Definitely gets a recommend from me, but especially for beginners. It's got this really cool mechanic, and lots of bullet hells have something similar to this. But you basically have a meter, and you can press a button and slow time down for a little bit in exchange for like using up some of that meter. And I think it like recharges over time. And that means that Super Galaxy Squadron EX Turbo can kind of have its cake and eat it too, with like some slow, cool, like psychedelic-looking bullet patterns, and it can have some that are like really fast. And you know, people who are like crazy high reaction time, they can just dodge those things in real time and feel like a badass. But beginners or people like me who are I'm basically a casual. Like compared to people who like play these games obsessively, I'm just kind of a tourist in these games, you can use that slowdown button, and I think that's a really good sort of compromise. Like, that's a good... It's kind of like Katana Zero, where to ease you into it, they give you this, like, slowdown technique. Yo, Grapefruit has face cam. I have played... Somebody asked about Zero Ranger. I'm getting a lot of recommendations, actually, here. Zero Ranger I played the demo for. I would like to play that one on stream. These other ones people are talking about I've never heard of. I might like write these down and just, you know, Google it later. One sec. Suguri and Starship X. No guarantees, but, you know, always looking for recommendations. Okay. Now, what would I rate this game? It's really solid. I'd give this like an 8. It's a solid game. It does nothing like super exceptional. I remember I experienced a glitch near the end of the game that kind of gave me a free boss kill. But the final boss was really cool. It was just, I think I like died right as I was hitting the slowdown button or something on like the same frame. I don't remember exactly what it was. But I died, and then I respawned, and then the world was permanently in slow motion, which made the rest of the game very, very easy. But, like, I took it. Oh, another great thing about this game is that usually there's, like, you know, 2 or 3 ships that you can choose from in a lot of your standard bullet hells. This one has, like, 11 or something, and they all correspond to different, like, colors in this really sort of, like, cartoonish kind of, like, Power Rangers-y kind of way, and there's actually a really cool wide variety of ship types here. I think this is one of those games that has a melee ship, which I think are so cool. It like swipes with swords or something instead of shooting bullets, which is really, really, really cool. I wish more games would experiment with stuff like that more. So one of the coolest features is, even if you want to play the game again, cool. You can do it with like a ton of variety with different types of ships, which I really like. Okay, Jamestown, and yeah, I couldn't tell whether you guys know I'm very anal about like having the right title on these spreadsheets. Sometimes official media for Jamestown says Legend of the Lost Colony, sometimes it doesn't. I don't know. This is a fun game. This was one of the first bullet hells that I ever played. It was on a Humble Bundle, I believe. And it's simple and good. It's got pretty, like, I don't think it has maybe as good pixel art as something like Super Galaxy Squadron EX Turbo, but it looks fine, and it has a couple of like really good songs on the OST, and it's got kind of this weird like old-timey like Spaniard style to it. It's got this really weird like alternate history, alternate universe type plot where there's like guys in like old Spaniard like war outfits or like old Spaniard armor in like space, in spaceships, in like a Cowboy Bebop-esque universe. Are the games organized by what they are, or are they just in order of you playing them? It's all over the place. The organization of this list is fucked up. Right now we're doing bullet hell games, but then down here we've got like series, and then up here it's in order that I played them, and then at the top there's Nintendo games. It's chaos. It's complete fucking chaos, and I will readily admit that. Who is Brug? What, you don't got eyes? Take a look at him. Stare into his peepers. Jamestown, I think, is another perfectly acceptable game. I think it had a few weird things with like... Oh, and this is one that I should have like looked up beforehand to refresh my memory. It has something where like you don't unlock... It's like you have to play through the game once and get to the second to last level, and then you unlock the last level and a higher difficulty mode, and you have to play through the whole game in that higher difficulty mode to get to the last level, or something like that. That was kind of obnoxious. I think, like, as weird as the story is, none of it really particularly grabbed me. The story in these types of games never does. It basically never does. Like... I don't know, just like glancing down the list, I don't think I see a single one of these where like I was like, yeah, I really give a shit about the story in this game, which is something I feel a lot of times I feel like bullet hell games have not reached their full potential, their like true potential. I guess like fucking Undertale and like just Shapes and Beats are like modern examples of the bullet hell, but I just think there's good stuff here. Bullet hells have some really cool like moments and the gameplay in particular, but there's a lot of elements of it that are always just kind of shoddy. In Jamestown, there's some cool stuff. There's some kind of annoying levels in this one. I remember like the mines level is kind of whack. They got some cool like side challenges, but the challenges can get really fucking brutal. Like there were some that I think I just gave up on getting because I was like, there's no way I can fucking do this. Anyway, I think I would give this like a 7.5. It is solid. It has some cool moments, and I don't know, it's got satisfying gameplay. It's nothing revolutionary. Guess I would recommend, sure. Yeah, oh yeah, the spreadsheet, that's a different one. I actually have two different game spreadsheets, as embarrassing as that is. Actually, truth be told, I have four, because, and this is really depressing, there's the game spreadsheet, which has like the links to the VODs and stuff, then there's the review spreadsheet, then there's the Flash game list, which is a separate list of games because there were so many games that I was like, no, Flash games are going to be separate. And then there is indeed a Flash game review spreadsheet. Because I also did this with Flash games because my brain is broken. So that's the story. And yeah, if you want to find this exact spreadsheet, go to one of the previous VODs of this series. Yeah, I have four of them because I'm crazy. By the way, before I was ever a streamer, I still did something like this. Like, I made lists of games and movies I wanted to watch and things I had already done as well. I like crossed them off on the lists. I did it in Word for the longest time just because I don't know, I was a dumbass and didn't think of Excel. I don't know. Yes, Jamestown is the game that said that I was the perfect player, and that's just because I did like level 1 without getting hit, which is not hard. I don't know. This is like, and by the way, when I do more Flash games, I am eventually going to have to do another Flash game review stream. But I think I am actually going to kind of wrap up the Flash game streams at a certain point. Like, I've got like 20 Flash games left that I want to play, and then I think I might just like put that on an indefinite hiatus, like, because I barely ever do it anymore. Like, who would really care? There's just a few more games that I want to play, and then I'll do that, and then I'll do one more review stream for Flash games, and then we'll be done with that, and I can cross off multiple things. I'm dedicated and extra. Okay, sure. I think that's a very kind way of putting it. Okay, Mushihime-sama. This is a fantastic bullet hell. This is one of my favorites. I think this game, while it doesn't have a great story, it has what a lot of cave shooters and a lot of sort of like anime bullet hells have, where the story is so vague that I have no fucking clue what's happening. And it'll say like at the end of level 1, it'll be like, a light in the darkness, a bridge between clans, or something like that, and I'm like, cool. Like, sure. Like, I can do nothing with that. Like, it just says like some anime platitude, and I'm like, all right, fine, I guess, cool. But I think this game escapes from the trap of being about generic spaceships that a lot of other bullet hells like fall into that sinkhole. This one is very creative. It's a lot of like insect and plant themed enemies with like, you know, mystical like woodland sprite type vibes, which is just very cool. The game looks great. Cave has this slightly janky sort of like 3D model style of arcade game that can at times look ugly, but I think this game looks really good. there's like 3 different versions of this game's soundtrack, and one of them's really good. I think it's like the arrange version or something. And the other ones I'm sure are fine, but I've just not listened to them very much. One of them is like huge banger though. So definite recommend. It's also got that perfect mix. I swear, usually in a lot of bullet hells, it's like your hitbox can actually collide with the image of a bullet and be fine as long as it's like the very outer edge of the bullet. I really like games that are like super lenient about that, where like the hitboxes for the bullets are actually deceptively small. Because then sometimes mix that with your pixel hitbox or your hurtbox, and it's like you pull off all these crazy dodges and you feel like such a badass when there's like a billion bullets on screen and like somehow you just survive. You know, that's a great feeling, especially for a scrub player like me. This one was very fun and exhilarating to play. I've returned to it a few times in the past. And there's like, I don't remember exactly what it's called. I want to say Mushihime-sama like Futari or something, but isn't that like a sex thing? Like Fuda? I might be transcribing a word there. There's one that's on like the Xbox 360 that I'd still like to play. This is a 9 out of 10 in terms of like a bullet hell. Futanari. Futa means 2. Futari is fine. Futanari is what you're thinking of. Okay. Brilliant. Anyway, these 2 I think I'm actually gonna skip, even though I think I like basically remember them both. No, I think I can actually review these. I think I remember these pretty well. These are wannabe cave shooters, and these are like random ass games that I think it was some like old ass website like indiegames.com or something like that, where they would have like a free game of the week. One of those types of websites. I don't remember if it was that exact thing. These are like wannabe cave shooters, and I think they actually do a pretty good job of imitating cave style. They are nothing exceptional. They're kind of generic. Like I don't think they have very creative like enemy designs and stuff. They both kind of visually resemble a game like Mushihime-sama, but you know, they're not quite as cool. They're a little more on the generic side, and I don't think they had quite the level of incredible music. But you know, for what they are acceptable clones. Like, not clones, but like they are acceptable imitations. I think I remember simply just the visuals in Eden's Aegis, which was more similar to Mushihime-sama. I think Blue Wish Resurrection Plus had more like ship type things. I remember liking the aesthetic of Eden's Aegis slightly more. And enjoying, particularly the final boss was pretty cool and had some wacky patterns. I don't know who made these. Eden's Aegis is like the most generic anime game title I've ever heard in my life. I don't know anything about the story of these games. They probably did that like in between levels like meaningless quote thing too. I think I would give this one a 7.5 maybe. No, I think I would if I could do like a 7.2 here, I would. But I'm not going to be that anal about it. And yeah, I think I would recommend these. I mean, I'm going to recommend a lot of these because I like bullet hells. Some of these are not getting a recommendation. Fucking Fever SOS is not getting a recommendation. Okay. RYM 9000 or RIM 9000 or whatever. This is actually a pretty modern game. I would say it's not exactly your classic bullet hell, but it's close enough that I put it with these other ones. This is one of the most visually like intense games that I've ever played. Just look up footage of this game. It's fucking wild. It just moves in this weird way. It's got like this strange sort of like visual filter over it or something, and the visuals are very like jittery. Don't watch it if you're photosensitive, please. It's very intense. It's got very cool music. It's sort of like generic. I keep saying the word generic because that's an issue that plagues a lot of these games. Sort of generic synthwave type music, but good. But definitely enjoyable to listen to, especially while playing the game. It's just an assault on the senses. And I think the gameplay is fun. it doesn't really. This is another game where a lot of the enemy designs are where it falls down for me, because a lot of the enemies in this game are just like circles. You're just basically fighting a bunch of circles, which I guess is fine for like visual clarity, but I would have appreciated. There's a couple of bosses in the late game in this game that are just like stunning to look at and just like so wild that I wish the game had more of that and was less about just shooting down a bunch of big circles that are shooting bullets at you. But like those couple of bosses that are like really visually striking are like amazing, like incredible fucking fights. So I just wish it had more of that, more, and it's like more like surreal stuff like that. Like the final boss in particular was very surreal and strange, and I liked it. So definitely would give a recommend. Again, if you're photosensitive, don't. Dude, what if I rigged up like a VTuber rig to this piece of shit? Like I wish I had that technology and that like know-how, because I would totally make a VTuber model of my own, like a picture of my face, like a photograph of me like doing like some weird face, and then I like just put rigging on it and just talk with that, and it would be like wicked uncanny. Anyway, this is Donpachi. I think this name, if memory serves, is some kind of pun on the sound of gunfire and the word for like bee sting or something. So there's a bunch of like, you pick up like trophies that have like wasps on them or something in this game. This is the first in a long running series of bullet hells made by Cave, and I've never been a big fan of them. I've actually played some Donpachi games in arcades off stream that were a little more to my tastes, but this is one of those series. Oh my god, I got the hiccups. This is a bad time for that. This is one of those bullet hell games where it's a lot more about quick reaction time, and like the bullets come out super fast. There's not a lot of them, but they come out super fast, and you need to like have really quick dodge time. And I just don't like that as much. And also, I think in terms of like being generic, I think Donpachi is like as generic as it gets. Like it's seriously like it's a really beloved franchise, but I really have a large amount of distaste for it. Hate to be a contrarian, but I don't really like it at all. The original was, it's like acceptable space shooter that you put like 1/4 in at the arcade, and then you die once, and then you're like, I'm done. You know, like at least that's how I feel about it. Maybe like 2 or 3/4 quadas, and it has continues. You get 1 quada. Let's give this like a 4.5. I don't know. I didn't really like it at all. But again, it's like acceptable. It's like, it's not unbearable. I just don't paint. I just don't paint. I just don't paint. Aim for weak points of fucking machine. Is this the game that said that? I don't. Hold on. One of these games did say that. Okay, I looked up aim for weak points of fucking machine, and I got the ultimate fucking machine guide. 8 tips and poses to have a fuck fest with a sex machine. Beginner's guide to sex machines. Not what I was looking for. One of these games did say that, and that was very funny. How do you get away with saying fuck in a title of your article? Whatever. It's whatever, I don't care. That's good. Good. Honestly, good. Okay. I am going to skip ESP Radi and Espgaluda. I remember I really fucking liked both of these, but I don't remember which is which. And they both had like unique gimmicks to them. So I'm not going to review them right now. We're just going to skip those. Fever SOS, I remember being a very disappointing game. This is like failed potential to the max. This is, and to my knowledge, I looked it up because I was like, why the fuck is this game like this? And to my knowledge, this game was originally designed to be a very similar type of shooter to Donpachi, where it's like generic space ships with no real like theming, just another like space shooter. But then they got some kind of like, the developers got some kind of like note from higher ups or whatever, where they were like, no, this needs to have like, this needs to be more fun and like approachable in its theming. And so they decided at the very end of development to slap on this like half-assed disco aesthetic to it, where it's like, oh, it's a disco game, but like nothing about the actual game. It's like when you destroy a ship, you're like rescuing people from inside the ship, and they like fall through the air and you need to like catch them, and those people vaguely look like people who are like going to a disco, I guess. But like, man, isn't this game just crying out? Like, maybe there was something like this later on and I just never got to it because the game was so generic and frustrating and like boring. Isn't this just crying out for like a big disco ball to like come down from the ceiling and start like spraying bullets out of each one of its like angles or whatever? But like there's nothing fun like that. It's just a bunch of fucking ships. It's like, oh, I want like a giant like platform boot to like come down, and I have to like stand in between the heel and the front of the platform boot to survive or whatever. I don't know, like you want like wacky cool shit in this, but then it's just kind of bad. The poster goes hard. Let me look it up. I can't find anything. Can't find anything that goes hard, at least. I don't know. But yeah, it's not very good. It's not very good. It has some like pretty lame, you can like definitely tell that they were like late in development attempts to make it have this sort of theming to it, but it's just so boring, honestly. And again, it's another one like Donpachi where it has like acceptable visuals, but it's just so disappointing, and it makes me sad. It makes me sad. I'll give this like a 4. No, would not recommend. But would recommend that somebody make a real disco-themed bullet hell, because doesn't that sound awesome? Anyway. Confirmed it was Donpachi that said, target the weak points of fucking machine. Yeah, when a lot of these games, another trope of bullet hells is when a boss shows up, you know, like warning, warning. And I guess that's what it says in Donpachi. I do remember that in one of these. Okay. Time to talk about Guange, or Guanje, or whatever, however the fuck you're supposed to pronounce it. This was an awesome one. This is another one of my favorites. I think it's right up there with Mushihime-sama. I don't know why. I only played this once. I should go back and replay it at some point. This is like a Japanese folklore / yokai themed bullet hell shooter. And in it, you play as like a samurai or a ninja. I think there's a few selectable characters, but you're like running around on the ground rather than being a ship in the air. And sometimes levels scroll sideways, sometimes they scroll up and down. It's cool. Like normally levels just scroll up in bullet hell shooters typically, but this one has a lot of sort of variation on that, and you can like shoot, I think, in all directions in this game. And you're shooting, instead of shooting bullets, you're shooting like a ludicrous amount of like kunai at the enemy, and it's really funny and cool and satisfying. I think this game's got it all. It's got cool enemy designs, fun level themes, great music, very, very cool sounding music that fits with the theme. The game is fun. It and Mushihime-sama both have this thing where like at the end of the game, it all of a sudden becomes like fucking impossible. Like this is a classic cave shooter thing, is like the final boss is just ridiculous and like leagues above anything else in terms of difficulty. So get ready for that. But honestly, if you're emulating these games, just cheese it with quarters, which even Mushihime-sama's boss in particular has like a safeguard, so you kind of can't cheese it with quarters, so you do have to like struggle your way through that. That's like one of the big flaws, I think, for Mushihime-sama from a casual perspective for me. But Guanje kind of does the same thing, but at least the final boss is funny and weird, so that's cool. It's very cool. Very, very, very cool game. I think I would give this one a 9 as well, yeah. And definitely recommend. It's like I would call this a underrated gem. This is like an undiscovered classic, I feel like, because I've never heard anybody talk about this game, but it's so good. 1 second here. Don't forget to stay hydrated, folks. Hope you're doing good out there. It's getting hot these days. Let's bunny check the yard. No bunny. Not right now. Man, the other day I went out there and there was one, he was looking right at me. And he had a little dandelion in his mouth and I had to punch a wall. Anyway, I don't know why people say that. I pick that up from other people where it's like, oh, I saw something so cute that I had to do something violent. I don't really actually get that instinct. Anyway, Pro Gear is another one that I'm pretty sure I remember fairly well, but I'm actually going to skip it for now because I want to go refresh my memory. Dodonpachi I do remember. It was kind of a midpoint. Dodonpachi was a lot more like what a lot of the rest of the series is from what I've seen, where it's it was better, but still so based around reaction time and speed that it was similarly frustrating to me. I think Donpachi I would compare to something like Sonic Boom. Not the Sonic game. I would compare it to Sonic Boom, the old arcade game, and Xevious, the old arcade game, where it's the bullets don't really stand out. They're just kind of lines and dots on the screen. Whereas by Dodonpachi, I think they had sort of got the message to make things a little bit more visually bright. And I love bullet hells that have bright fucking pink and purple bullets. I love that look in particular. Danmaku Unlimited series does that really well. Mushihime-sama does that really well. Dodonpachi, it was in this game they started to realize that they probably should be doing that as well, instead of just making it dots and lines on the screen. That being said, this is really not that much more enjoyable to me than Donpachi itself, and it's similarly generic. I'm just so sick of ships, and I know I sought out and played a lot of these, but I just thought there'd be more variety than just a bunch of fucking generic spaceships, whatever. And some of my favorite examples of the fucking genre are games that have generic ships, so, take that as you will. This one, I genuinely don't remember what this one was like, and I'm gonna have to go back and remember it. I think it was good, but I'm not sure. This one I'm skipping. This one I remember pretty well. This one was kind of uncomfortable. It was a little sus. I think there was a sexualized child in this game, I believe. If memory serves, it's the main characters are chubby anime girls with cute pig outfits or something, and they're riding on exercise bikes, and that's their their way of getting around. That's their ship. And it's kind of weird. There's a lot of pig themed enemies. It's all about pigs and bacon and pork. I didn't vibe with this one very much. This felt like a okay Japan moment, especially because one of the all the characters are pretty sexualized, and one of them is clearly a child. I don't know, and the gameplay wasn't terribly fun either. It was just kind of unexceptional. I remember there's lots of the backgrounds and stuff, instead of being these crazy whimsical environments like Guanje and Mishihime-sama, it was just grasslands and a factory or something. It was very, I don't know. It was unexceptional, and it was just uncomfortable, and I remember it being quite brutally hard compared to the other ones. So I don't know if I would recommend this one. I'd maybe give this a 6. Okay, Harmful Park. This one was really cool. This is a game that was featured in a JonTron video. That's how I learned of it. Get into more controversial topics like JonTron, gaming on YouTube. This is a very fun game. I think this one, I wouldn't even really super consider this to be your traditional bullet hell. This is something more in the line of Parodius, which those games also are adjacent to bullet hells, which is why they're here. It is a wacky side-scrolling shmup game where you have goofy weapons such as jelly beans, and yes, hilariously, the jelly beans are translated as Jerry, or they're listed as Jerry. They're actually, for the longest time, there was no official English translation of this game. and then I streamed it, and then like it was like a couple weeks later, I think, they announced the first official English translation of it and port of it on the Switch or something. It like showed up on the Switch, which was kind of whack. Poor timing, perhaps, because I remember getting this game to like run on emulator was like a weird pain in the ass, even though I think it was more the emulator's deal rather than the game. Anyway, this game is really fun. It's creative. It's pretty breezy. Like, with my level of experience, it was not terribly difficult. A lot of the bosses go down in like 10 seconds, but it's got goofy, creative visuals, very similar to Parodius, like I say. But I think less frustrating than Parodius, which is nice. That was something that really got me down with the Parodius games, is that they are, they have the same problems that, like, Gradius has, the games that they're parodying. Where sometimes you can just kind of, like, you lose all your power-ups, and then you're just like, well, I'm just fucked now. Because I'm in a really hard part of the game with no power-ups. Like, what am I supposed to do? I think this game, being easier is a good thing in this case. So, I don't know, I would give this, like, a solid 8. I think this is an 8 for me. I don't remember much, again, I don't remember much about the story. I don't think it really mattered, but it was in Japanese, so I didn't even know. I didn't even know, whatever. Doesn't matter. The story, oh, yeah, recommend. The story doesn't even matter in these games, in, like, all of them. Okay, Cho Aniki. I guess I'll try to say this. Kyu Kyoku Muteki Ginga Seikyo Otoko. That is as best as I can do it. I don't remember what that translates to, but Cho Aniki means big brother. This is a series of, like, homoerotic shmup games from Japan that have like a bunch of like weird muscly men in them, and they're really whack. This is another one, actually. Harmful Park and Cho Aniki, these were both in that one JonTron video on shmups, and the visuals of this game are absolutely whack. When I was talking recently about, I think when I was playing like Getting Over It or something, I was talking about lo-fi games. I think this is like a perfect lo-fi game. Just in its visuals, it looks so crusty and weird. That being said, you remember what I was talking about with that that whole phenomenon with Gradius where you lose your power-ups in a difficult part of the game and then you're just fucked? This game, which I've heard, by the way, is like the most hated one in the series, it has that problem to a degree that feels like they didn't even fucking, like, test the game. It legitimately, there are some parts where it's like, oh my god, when you lose your power-up here, it is, like, borderline fucking impossible to move forward, because they just don't give you enough power-ups to work with, and you've got this piss-weak basic fire, and you're stuck against this, like, really, really difficult boss. This was just my personal experience with the game, but I'd be willing to bet that other people had the same experience, where you're doing fine, you know, you're plowing through everything, and then you died once, now you're just, like, stuck there. That is the game with the frog snail. That was the boss that I got stuck on. So I think I ended up looking at a, like it says gave up here. I think I ended up watching a long play of it, and I'd say just do that, because there is so much whack shit in this game. You know, maybe I didn't even watch a long play of it. No, I think I did. I think I got stuck, then I, like, reset the game and got past the point where I got stuck or something like that. And then I got quite a bit further, but then I died, and then I, like, watched the last level on YouTube or something. And, because I remember playing, I remember fighting, like, the big boat and, like, the big train and shit. These games have some, or this game in particular, I don't know about the other ones, I haven't played them. It has some whack visuals that are, like, a lot of it is, like, real photographs of things that have been, like, stitched together in this weird way. It is so goofy and funny, and man, I just wish the game wasn't broken at a basic level. It is extreme highs and lows for me. Like, the gameplay isn't, like, terribly fun. It's not, like, the best fucking shmup I've ever played, even without the issue of the whole Gradius thing. So I'm going to go ahead and say, as much as I like this game, I'm not going to recommend it. Just watch a long play or something. So let's... I don't know. Like a 5.5? It's whack. It is a whack game. I feel bad giving it that low of a score, but like seriously, the difficulty, and it wasn't even really that fun to begin with. The gameplay drags it down a lot. Okay. Bullet Soul and Bullet Soul Infinite Burst. Here, I'm just gonna get this out of the way right away. I do not recommend the original Bullet Soul. There is no reason to buy it. Bullet Soul Infinite Burst is just a straight upgrade. And I think, do they cost the same? Let me look. They do. They both cost $15, and Bullet Soul Infinite Burst is literally just objectively a better game. So do not buy base game Bullet Soul. I made that mistake because I thought Infinite Burst was a sequel. It is not. It is just a better version of the game. But they, you know, since they're both basically the same game, they're both fun. I remember having, like, there were, like, weird audio issues with, like, the credits music of this game. It was, like, in wicked low audio quality in a way that felt unintentional. These games are pretty generic, but they have cool bullet patterns. They have fun combat, like, fun bullet hell action. This is another game that has a punching ship, but only Infinite Burst. So if you want to have the ship that punches your enemies, the, like, melee up-close ship, play this one. Basically, there's no reason to play this. I almost want to write, like, NA for this, because it's like, it doesn't matter, because no, don't buy it. But, whatever. I'll give this one, like, again, they're pretty generic, but they are, like, acceptable games. Like, you know, anime characters fighting ships in space, but the gameplay is fun. And it's another one that I felt was, like, basically just the right amount of difficulty for me to be compelling without being frustrating. So yes, I would recommend, let's give this like a 7.5. It's really not that much of an upgrade. Because again, it's kind of generic. Okay, Mars Matrix is another one that I remember almost nothing about. I guess I gave up on it. I really don't remember. Battle Garega. This one was pretty good. It was another one that was generic. But let me just, like, look up pictures of it just to, like, jog my memory real quick here. Yeah. This is... I just wanted to make sure it's, like, the one I'm thinking of. So it's pretty generic ships. It even kind of has the Donpachi thing where, like, it's a lot more, like, the enemy attacks are a lot more like, oh, this is a missile, rather than a giant, bright pink ball of energy, which I kind of prefer the giant pink ball of energy. But Battle Garega, for what it's worth, is, like, one of the best, like, super generic looking bullet hell shmups that I've ever played. It was really fun. The pixel art is really, really well done. And I remember specifically the music was so good in this game. It was like, that was, like, the reason to play the game, was that it had really, really good music. So yeah, would recommend. This is, like, all the other ones that I was kind of shit talking, this is, like, their best version, essentially. And I think, is this a cave shooter? Let me look it up. No, developed by Rising. Interesting. Anyway, and this was the original version of it. I think there's other versions of it that got, like, they were, like, re-releases. I don't know about those. I assume they're also good. I give it, like, an 8. I don't know. It was fun. It was a solid one. Okay, Ikaruga. Slight hot take here. By the way, we're so close to the end of these bullet hells. I've been putting off doing these for, like, such a long time, and I'm so glad that we've, like, got through some of these. And, like, next stream I'll just have to go back through and remember, you know, these, like, holes of games that I, like, don't remember terribly well. But then we can be done with that. And then we can get on to, like, really fun stuff. Like, I'm not trying to say that, like, reviewing bullet hells is a chore, but why did I put them all next to each other? Why did I do that? I don't know. And then we can get on to, like, really fun stuff. Metal Slug, Dark Souls, Sonic. Anyway. Ikaruga, slight hot take, it wasn't my favorite. I think this one, again, bears repeating, kind of generic plot. I didn't really get like anything that was happening with the plot. I feel like this game doesn't even give you enough time. A lot of these games don't give you enough time to read the text that they put on screen in between levels. I'm like halfway through reading the sentence and then it's gone, and I'm like, oh, okay. But the gameplay of this one, it has quite a unique, fun gimmick. The whole polarity thing, where enemies shoot light and dark bullets at you, and you can change your polarity to be like light and dark. And it's like, when you have dark polarity, the dark bullets don't hurt you and they actually give you meter. And then, you know, the other way around with the light bullets. And that's a really fun, sort of interesting concept. I have a blast playing like the first level of this game. And then at a certain point, like, there are so many just whack patterns that are so difficult for me. And like, I'm really trying when I play this game, and I played it a few times on stream, and then after that, I played it quite a few more times, just waiting for that moment for it to like click, and it just never came. And that's like what I heard from people is like, oh, yo, it just clicks at some point, dude. And like, there are just some patterns that just feel so finicky and claustrophobic. There are some bosses, I think the bosses in this game are one of the things that like angers me the most, where you just have no room to do anything. And it's like, man, I would love to have, I don't think this game has a button for you to like slow down like a lot of other bullet hells have. They have like, oh, you can hold down the button and you move slower so you can do more precision like dodging. This is a game that, to me, is just screaming out for something like that. Like, I feel like it's like, where is that? Like, that should be in the game. Because there's just so many times where it's like, oh, I tapped the fucking movement stick 1/2 of a degree too low down, and now I brushed into a wall and died, you know? It's just a little too brutal for me. But it is a fun game. At its best, it is fun. There are definitely some really cool encounters that I really enjoy doing. The final boss, for instance, I think is really cool. There's a lot of cool bosses. It's just some parts of it are so frustrating, and some levels are so frustrating, where I'm dying like 30 times in a level, and it's like, yeah, the click is not happening. It's just not happening for me. And then the rest of it, you know, it's just kind of generic ships, generic story. Really cool gameplay idea, done really well sometimes. For me, it never clicked. Some of the more extreme moments. That big ring boss. There's 2 big ring bosses that can just fuck right off. Where they like trap you in a tiny little area. Okay, anyway. I give it like a 7. I think that's fair. No, let's give it like a 7.5. At its best, it was really fun. But it was a game of highs and lows, and it doesn't have the extra like aesthetic to like sell me on it that a lot of other bullet hells I like have. But yeah, sure. I'll recommend that. Okay. Now I gotta do Toho, and then the fucking Death Smiles is just down here. Maybe I should have put that above Toho. Whatever. I need to take a drink of water. God, guys, episode metal. I completely fucking forgot about episode metal. And then my eye highs, Toho eye highs. My eyes just wandered down here. I forgot about episode metal. I can't believe, why did I play that on stream? This is just satisfying to look at. We're so close. And then, finally, by the way, you guys did a fantastic job of, like, bugging me about this. It worked. I did another stream. We did it. Thank you for bugging me. Please continue to do that until I'm done with it. Until I'm, like, caught up, and then you can stop. Because I can't wait to be done with this list. Because it's just something... Can I, hold on. Can I show you guys... Here's the game list spreadsheet. So, traveling over to a different spreadsheet. So here is all the games that I've streamed so far, right? all in green. And ongoing series are marked in red here. And all the way back up, all the way up here. Yep, keep going, keep going. Yep. There's reviews. It's like very near the top of the list. And I am going to be so satisfied when I can make that green and say open-ended. Where it's just like, okay, now I can just like relax and just do a review stream every like couple of months or something, you know? That's going to be so satisfying to me. To just have that checked off, because that's been bugging me. That has been the monkey on my back for like years, actual years. It's been like 3 years or something since I started doing these reviews, maybe more. So that's going to be nice to have. Anyway, okay, back to Touhou. This is, to anybody who doesn't know, the Touhou games are divided into 2 different eras. There's the PC 98 era, and there is the Windows era. And the Windows era is most of the games, but the first 5 games are in this PC 98 era. And this is, PC 98 is a outdated, old form of, like, Japanese computer, basically. That you need a really janky emulator to get running. I was told that I used like the worst of the 2 emulators to be that are available. I couldn't get the better one to work. So people were like, "Oh, the like sound quality was like slightly worse in yours because you used the bad emulator." I couldn't get the good one to work. So that's my bad. I don't think the slight change in sound quality is going to really change much. These games do have good music. When I was talking about Cho Aniki earlier, about lo-fi games, Touhou 1 is definitely a lo-fi game to me. It is very old, janky computer style. It kind of feels like a Commodore 64 game almost. Not quite. It's a little better than that. But it is a bullet hell / breakout clone, basically. Where there is a ball bouncing around the screen, you control Reimu running around at the bottom, and you hit the ball around and avoid getting hit by the ball to like break these cards that are on the stage. And then occasionally there's a boss that's a little more traditional bullet hell, but your only way of hurting the boss is with the ball. So you still have to like use the breakout ball to hit the bosses. It's a very unique style of game, of course. Like I can't think of another game that's like this. It is certainly a unique experience. I don't think I regret having played it. It definitely got frustrating, and it definitely was not the most fun thing I've ever played. It definitely doesn't have quite the level of like insane bullet patterns that the modern games have, but it actually has a few cool ones at the very least. The art in this game is like whack. The game just visually looks... Some people just say it looks like absolute dog shit. I wouldn't go that far, but it certainly is unique. It certainly has quite the look to it. Some parts of it look like ass, like the ending cutscene art is just like, oh my god. Again, this is another one where, like these Touhou games, I was kind of expecting to be taken in by the story more than I was, but the story in these games just does nothing for me. Some of the ending cutscenes in these games are funny. And that's it. Like, there's some funny things, and frankly, I don't even remember which ones have the funny stuff in them. Just like funny, like ridiculous stuff. Like a character like rides a nuclear missile at one point, and a character gets crucified and shit like that. Kind of tone-deaf cutscenes a lot of the time, and like dialogue. But this first game I don't think really even has dialogue throughout the game, like the other ones do. It is unique, but it gets frustrating. It is kind of forgiving because there are checkpoints at each level, which you can't say for all of these types of games. So, and it also has multiple story routes. There's like a choice halfway through the game where you go on different routes and you can experience the game differently. That's kind of cool. The bomb effect in this game is one of the most seizure-inducing things I've ever seen in my life. you flash your eyes, or it flashes the screen so much that like my eyes hurt and I don't even fucking have epilepsy or anything. It's just like painful to look at when you bomb. And this is a game where you can just, like, some levels where you're just trying to flip cards over, you can just bomb it once and just beat the entire level. It feels kind of unbalanced in that way. So it is definitely it is a B game for sure. It is very lo-fi, but it's interesting. The sound quality, like, I listened when people said, oh, the like audio was like bad on the version that you emulated. I listened to the better version, and it really, like, it's not that much better. Like, it's still got that kind of grating old chiptune kind of style to it that doesn't sound as pleasant as something like the NES. You know, the NES chiptune sound has actually aged pretty well comparatively. But the music can be kind of grating, even though it is good. It's like well composed. But I don't know if I would recommend it necessarily. Like, if you really want to play all the Toho games, sure. It's not like a must play by any means. Give it like a 6. That's how much I enjoyed playing it. Just because part of it is kind of like the enjoyment you get from a B game, where it's just like, wow, this is wild to look at. Like, what am I fucking playing? Okay. Whew. I need to remember here. Eastern Wonderland was the first, I think this was the first, like, legit standard bullet hell shmup type one, where you fly through usually 5 or 6 levels, fly straight forward, shoot the enemies, get the power-ups, beat the bosses, etc. And in between the bosses, there's a little bit of dialogue, and the dialogue between characters in these games is always just so, like, insipid, and, like, I just don't care about it. Like, I usually, when I'm done reading it, I'm like, wow, that was just, like, a waste of my time. Just my personal feelings on it. I think these are fan translations, by the way. I don't think there were official translations for any of these. Maybe just for the first one or something. I don't remember. But, it's just, I don't really like when the characters talk at all. Okay, so this one's pretty standard. I think basically, oh god, you know, I might need to actually put off reviewing these for now, because I don't super clearly remember which ones are which. Like, Lotus Land Story was the weird, like, versus one, right? Like this, I know this is, like, lame that I'm, like, looking this up on stream. Or was that, like, Phantasmagoria of Dim Dream? I think it was Phantasmagoria of Dim Dream, actually. Let me just look, I'm sorry. Because, from what I've heard, the future games in the Toho series that are similar to the, like, to Phantasmagoria of Dim Dream also have Phantasmagoria in the title, right? Hold on, I'm, like, looking up a video. Okay, just, I need to, like, look at them. Yeah, I remember this. Okay, yeah. It was 3 that has the weird versus thing. So it's just 1 and 3 that are the gimmicky ones, and then the rest are basically normal. Anyway, I think basically, and this is gonna sound like kind of a cop-out, Story of Eastern Wonderland is like the baseline, like, okay, you have established, like, this is the formula that a lot of these games are going to use going forward. It is not particularly exceptional. There are things that I don't enjoy about it. All of these PC-98 games have this gimmick of, like, bullets that aren't fired by any enemy, they just appear out of thin air. And those feel like such bullshit. Like, they have a slight little animation that shows that they're about to appear there, but it's so easy to miss, and it's so fast that these attacks still just feel like bullshit. And I was like, do these appear in the Windows games? And people were like, no. And I was like, good, because they're fucking horse shit. I hate them. where a bullet will like appear in midair like right next to you and like shoot at you, and you're like, great, I'm fucked. So anyway, this one, it was like, honestly, I would put this one right on par. It's like, this is a 6 despite being jank and old, just because it's unique. This is a 6 more because it's like, it's less jank and old, but it's also less unique, so it stays right on the same level. Like, it's pretty standard as they go. I don't know if I would recommend... I don't know if I'm going to recommend any of these. I think I'm going to end up recommending 3 and 5 is what's going to go on here. Because basically, Phantasmagoria of Dim Dream was a very interesting sort of experimental one. I think I'm going to give it like a 7.5. And maybe I'm biased because I like 1cc'd this one. I felt like it was easier than the other ones. This one is structured in the same way that a game like Tetris Attack is, where it's like there's 2 screens, there's 2 players, there's you and a CPU controlled character. I don't know if there's multiplayer in this game. Something tells me there wasn't, but it's you versus a computer controlled character. You're both playing your own bullet hells, and if you get like a crazy, like if you get a bunch of points and like laser zap a bunch of the enemies at once, then you send an attack, a bullet hell pattern, over to the other person's screen, and they can send attacks and bosses over to you too. So I think that's a wicked cool idea. It was actually really fun. Biggest complaints are, one, that it's kind of like the generic like Toho style. You're mostly just shooting like hearts, yin-yang symbols, and like ghosts, I think. And the fact that the computer player, the computer AI is like not the best. It feels like there was not a great, the developer did not have a great grasp on how to make a computer-controlled character. Just the way they move is very like jittery and unnatural. And it doesn't really feel like you're actually fighting a real opponent. Not like you're going to be looking over there very much. But I think its concept at the basic level is actually really fun. This was one of the more enjoyable ones, and I enjoy it for its uniqueness, for its weird gimmick. Now, Lotus Land Story, I have almost nothing to say about. It is, I would consider it just a better version of Story of Eastern Wonderland, which means it is another kind of generic styled one. I would go ahead and I would give this, like, this one is right on the fence. Like, if I could type, like, Yenes here, I would. Yenes. Like, yes and no, like a 50-50. Depending on what day you ask me, I would recommend or not recommend this one. But this game is basically just an improved version of Story of Eastern Wonderland. The visuals are ever so slightly better. The music is quite memorable. I think, is Lotus Land Story the one that has Bad Apple in it? Bad Apple. Or was that Eastern Wonderland? I forget. Or was that Mystic Square? Anyway, this was the one with Bad Apple, because I remember the music in this one being good. Like, particularly good. This and Mystic Square, the music was both pretty good. So, I would give this, like, it's not my favorite. Both of these games have, like, the same kind of bullshit that Story of Eastern Wonderland has, and can be quite punishing and quite frustrating, but I think there's literally just a steady increase in quality, to the point where I would call this one, like, a 7, and this one like a 7.5. I remember the final boss in particular of Mystic Square. Oh my god, of Mystic Square was really cool. I did not beat it. I actually did not beat this game. I finished all of them, and then at the final boss of Mystic Square, I gave up, because you have to, if you die in these games, you have to replay the whole game, except for the first one. So I got to the final boss a couple of times, died, and I was like, okay, fuck this. It was really hard, but it was really cool. It looked really, really cool. It was one of the more memorable ones. I think actually, I remembered something that I'm going to bitch about in Mystic Square, and it's actually going to bring the score of this game down. Which is the late game in this game, no, I think I still gave it a 7.5, because remember that, like, cool dual boss, where if you kill one of them, the second phase of the boss is, like, different depending on which one you kill first? No, I think this one was still cooler. Like, the bosses were just really neat. There was just an issue of visibility in Mystic Square that was just very frustrating to me. There was a level that was just like blue and white ice on the ground, and there were like blue and white projectiles, and it was just like, I can't fucking see the enemy attacks, and it felt very like frustrating and bad. I don't know. That's just how I felt. But that was just one level. That was like the 4th level of the game or whatever. That's just a minor complaint. I still think it was better than this one, just from what I remember of these. So there's the PC98 era done. I have played one of the Windows games. It is the 6th game, Scarlet Devil, the famous Scarlet Devil. This is a game that I think improves on, again, it's another sort of standard bullet hell in the story of Eastern Wonderland, Lotus Land, Mystic Square kind of style. It's of course a huge visual upgrade, but Zun's art has never really been terribly good. Like, maybe he's gotten better in the recent games, but like even this one, even though things are like higher resolution and he clearly had more to work with, his actual character art is so like DeviantArt core. And the character dialogue, I still just don't care about. The endings, people are saying no, he has not got better at art. Okay. The endings, I just didn't really care about. Like, they just weren't really terribly interesting to me. There has been a visual upgrade, but it's, subjective, I guess. I don't know. I feel like calling it Deviant Core is a pretty fair way of putting it. I didn't vibe with it, that's for sure. The giant sideways tear, yeah. But the actual gameplay is definitely way better than the other ones. This one, I believe, no, which one was it? Was it Lotus Land's story that introduced the slowdown button? I think it was. It was that or Mystic Square. And this game carries that over. I think this game has, of the games that I've played, by far the coolest bullet patterns in it. Very cool, like, psychedelic, weird bullet patterns. It's pretty challenging. It's very challenging, actually. I was unable, you need to, like, 1cc the game in order to unlock the final boss, the secret boss, and, like, the extra level, which is the famous UN Owen was her level. But you know, that's classic. That's a lot of bullet hell games are like that. But just personally, I had to input a cheat code in order to actually fight the final boss, and I think in order to even complete the game, I played it on normal mode and gave myself a ton of continues in the options. So take that for what you will. It is a fun game. It has really good music. I think, you know, the music has just improved over each one of these games. And particularly the gameplay is just really, really solid. So I don't know, I'd give this like an 8, I think. That's how I feel, at least. I just, you know, again, as with many bullet hells, I just don't care about like a lot of the trappings of it. Like the characters, the dialogue, story overall, I can't bring myself to care, and I thought I would. I don't know. Okay, last bullet hell for today. Oh my god, we've been going for over an hour talking about bullet hells. I really thought this would go by faster. Death Smiles. This is another cave shooter. It is cool. It's kind of like Guan type style, where it's like, it's more like spooky horror, like gothic horror theme. I don't think it has quite the cool, wacky enemy designs that Mushihime-sama or Guan have, but it's definitely cool. It's definitely up there. Definitely not looking up here. No, I gave both of those a 9, right? Yeah. Death Smiles, I think, was just a little more generic. You know, the characters that you play as were pretty generic. This one had one of the most comprehensible stories of any bullet hell that I've played on stream so far. Where I was like, yeah, I kind of actually get what's happening here. That was pretty cool. And it's got this gimmick where it's a side-scrolling shooter, and you can shoot in both. You can change the direction of your shots, and so enemies can come from all sides of the screen. It's kind of like Guanje in that way, where the screen, it doesn't even always necessarily scroll to the side. Sometimes it goes up and down. So in that, the gameplay is really, really cool, really fun. I think the bullet patterns and the enemy designs are just not quite up to the same standard as some of the best cave shooters, but this one is really enjoyable. I would give it like a solid 8 and a yes recommendation. It was another one that was, I think this one didn't get too challenging by the end. A lot of the other ones get like a little ridiculous. This one didn't really get that ridiculous. So let's give it a solid 8. Okay. Oh my god, we're done with those. Should I talk about Sonic for the rest of the stream? I think basically we're only going to get the Sonic games out. I also kind of just need to take a break and just sit here and drink some water for a second. How you guys doing? You holding up good? Who's like doing chores right now while they listen to this? Oh, that feels good though. Like having all these done. I just need to go get a few. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 in there that I need to research. I'm working, I'm drawing. Yes, it is too hot in Scotland. I'm also thinking I hate to, you know, extend this series more than it needs to, but I'm thinking about adding a little section near the bottom that is like games that I have not streamed that I probably won't stream for whatever reason, but that I want to give a review to. So games like Overwatch, the Phoenix Wright games, Omori, these are ones that come to mind at least. So it would just be a few, it would just be a little handful of things. Okay. Time to talk about Sonic. A contentious subject, especially the old Sonic games, I feel like are a highly debated thing. I'm just going to give my actual opinion. I mean, Sonic 1 and 2, I've actually played quite a few years ago. Like, the rest of these, I have not had that much, like, my time playing them on stream was my first time ever playing them. But Sonic 1 and 2, I have a bit of a history with, playing them on actual hardware back when I was like 15. I got really into like console collecting, and particularly going to thrift stores and garage sales, trying to find like cheap old game consoles. And there was a friend of mine who was like, yeah, my friend went to the army, like he went into the military, and he gave me his Genesis with a bunch of games. Do you want it? And I was like, yeah. And I still have that damn Genesis. I have 3 Sega Genesis now. And Sonic 1 and 2 came with it, along with Rocket Knight and a bunch of like other random crap, basically. When I played that one, I did a couple streams, or like maybe one stream that was like shitty Genesis games or something like that. It was like Genesis games of decreasing quality. There was like Ren and Stimpy, X-Men, Spider-Man in there. But I remember actually playing Sonic the Hedgehog when I was relatively young. Like, must have been like a decade ago at this point. Playing it in like high school. I think Sonic the Hedgehog 1 clearly has not aged amazingly. I think it's quite telling that in a lot of modern ports of the original Sonic the Hedgehog, Sega likes to like revise their history and just put in a spin dash. Like, originally, you can't, in normal Sonic the Hedgehog on an actual Sega Genesis, you can't spin dash. But in a lot of modern ports, they were like, yeah, let's just like put that in so people remember it a little more favorably. And I think that genuinely changes people's opinion on this game. Like, play it without spin dash, and you will feel the pain. It's definitely got fun parts. I think one thing that Sonic 1, 2, and 3 absolutely nail, they are some of the best aging retro game visuals I've ever seen. and they've got fantastic visuals, really charming, sort of unique, fun art style that works really well for a video game. Great music, like fantastic soundtracks across the board. All that has aged really well. It's just the gameplay that I think gets a lot of people, including me, down. These games are definitely built with the idea of replaying them over and over again in mind, but that first playthrough is just gonna be pain. Like, with every single one of these. Like, a lot of people thought that I like hated Sonic 3 when I was playing it on stream because there were just so many like frustrating moments. But no, that's every retro Sonic game when you play it for the first time, because you just go launching into these like new situations with no knowledge of what's going to be in front of you, and you just fucking like die. Like you just get launched into like a bottomless pit or something because you like couldn't see it coming in the fraction of a second that you had to react to it. Again, this is something that spin dashing helps with, but because of that, Sonic 1 particularly suffers from it. Sonic 1 was the one with Metropolis Zone, right? Really good music, but horse shit enemy placements. There are so many times when you... Was that 2? What is the one in Sonic 1? There was a bullshit... What was the bullshit zone in Sonic 1? It was like Starry Night Zone or something? I think I'm thinking of Starlight Zone. That just has a bunch of, like, horse shit enemy placements. Yeah, this is the one I'm thinking of. It's not... Like, Metropolis Zone definitely is the better music, but, this is one, and I don't know why I'm, like, particularly focusing on this level. It's kind of an issue throughout the game, where it's like you come out of some kind of, like, you know, there's some section where they, like, bounce you off a bunch of springs and, like, throw you through a loop, and you're like... And then you, like, just get thrown into an enemy at the end, and it's like, what, huh? What the fuck? What do you mean? There's just an enemy right there that, like, throws its claws at you or whatever. And, Metropolis was from Sonic 2 and had those annoying Mantis enemy placements. Okay, well, I'm just fucking crazy, I guess. But the first game also had frustrating moments in it. Maybe I just remember Metropolis Zone just specifically for those little moments, because they were so bullshit. But anyway, I'm focusing too much on this. This is a classic thing that I've heard people, like, I've heard a bunch of Sonic fans be like, yeah, I've come to hate the word momentum, because it's just like an endlessly discussed thing in Sonic games. And I think, from an outsider's perspective, as somebody who has not, like, argued about Sonic a lot, I think the confusion might stem from the fact that some people are talking about, like, physically the controls of the game having momentum, and some people might be talking more about, like, level design momentum. Where, in a game like Sonic 1, you know, the classic observation is that you plow through Green Hill Zone. Green Hill Zone is so fun, and so memorable, and so enjoyable. That's why it's in every fucking Sonic game. People were clicking their fucking heels when they saw that the new Sonic game does not have Green Hill Zone, which I thought was really funny. They were like, yes, we're free! Plow through Green Hill Zone, then you get to, like, Marble Zone, and it's just, like, the game just comes to a dead fucking stop. And, like, Oil Ocean later on and shit like that, it just becomes miserable, where there's just a bunch of, like, really, like, stop and go gameplay. And the fact that you can't just quickly speed boost and start moving fast on a dime means that it's especially frustrating and, like, slow and just kind of annoying. And it's got, you know, you've got these controls that feel like they're based around going fast and having a lot of, like, momentum-based gameplay, but then really a lot of the time you're just sitting there standing on a block while it moves and stuff. So I don't know. It's kind of rough in the gameplay department. But it's not terrible. It is, honestly, this series is retro games that have aged pretty well compared to other ones. Like, I think there's a reason these games have been re-released and ported so many times. is because they are to a certain degree enjoyable. And just those visuals and that music are enough to carry it a lot of the way. But the gameplay really brings it down. I think I would put it like at 6.5. Fucking iconic like music and shit. And I think I would recommend play a little bit of Sonic 1. You don't need to finish it, but play a little bit of it. It's gaming history. Like, you should. Sonic 2, I think 2 and 3 and Knuckles, I rate, like, exactly the same. They both are really cool. I think they're both improvements on the first game. I think they have better levels and better mechanics in the fact that you can fucking spin dash. Tails doesn't really ever add much to Sonic 2 for me. He's just kind of there. But it is kind of a neat gimmick. I think, and I can't attest to the quality, I think basically, if you want my review of Sonic 3 or Sonic and Knuckles, just like, they're just two halves of Sonic 3 and Knuckles with like an extra boss tossed in or something, right? Or no, actually, it's with a boss removed. There's like a Sonic 3 exclusive boss that is not in Sonic 3 and Knuckles, or something like that. But I think 2 and 3 and Knuckles are like on the same exact level for me. Greatly improved over the first game. They are just really solid old retro platformers. But again, still have that issue of like just flinging you into danger, and it's like, I'm sorry, my brain just doesn't run that fast, and it feels like you're supposed to have a lot of trial and error before you actually complete this game, let alone get like the bonus content like the Chaos Emeralds and the Supersonic and shit like that. I've never once got Supersonic in one of the old Sonic games. And whenever I say that, people are like, dude, that's like not even that hard. But I've never done it. It seems pretty difficult. I don't know. It's just never happened to me. I think, let's talk mini games, because Sonic 1 has it has those levels. Those I actually kind of like. I know a lot of people hate those levels. I think those are fun, and I like the visuals in those levels in particular. Sonic 2 has the like half pipe thing, which I think has actually aged really well and is still fun to this day. Sonic 3 and Knuckles, collect blue spheres, I didn't like so much. Not so much that I like the game less, but I would have been fine with it just being more the half pipe stuff. I don't know. Yeah, people always say it's easy. You have to like every single level. Here's the thing. It's kind of tricky to just complete one of these games without like save states and shit. Like playing it on actual hardware, I find it kind of difficult to even just complete one of these. But it's like you have to fulfill the requirements for like every level. Headed home early due to a water leak. Oh my god. Okay, well, that's good to know. I'm probably wrapping it up. I'm wrapping it up after I finish the Sonic games anyway. Well, I hope you don't have to swim your way home, babe. Just do almost perfect all the levels and then don't fuck up the bonus once. Yeah. Okay, so that's sarcasm then, chat. It seems pretty difficult. Anyway, both of these games are quite good as retro games. I think they're just frustrating that first time. You know, which is why I think a lot of people got the impression that I like hated Sonic 3 and Knuckles, when I really didn't. It was fun. I liked it just as much as Sonic 2. It's just I have more nostalgic value for Sonic 2, so that's the one that I did the speed run of. Sue me. I think I would rate both of these a 7.5. I think that's where I'm going with that. No, let's give them 8s. Let's give them 8s. Fuck it. I'm feeling generous. Okay. Sonic the Hedgehog 4. This is a big time skip forward in the Sonic saga. Sonic 4 really isn't like a true sequel to Sonic 3. It's a very weird thing. This is another game. Remember I was talking about Fever SOS earlier. This is a game that started out as like Sonic the Mobile or something like that. That was going to be like a mobile game version of Sonic. And then the Sega higher ups were like, yeah, devs, this is now Sonic the Hedgehog 4, and you're going to put it on PC, and it's going to be great. Yeah, Sonic the Portable, that's what it was. And so this game is kind of a victim of fate. Like, I don't think it should really be held up to the same standard as Sonic like 2 and 3. But unfortunately, that's like where it is. Like, it is called Sonic the Hedgehog 4. We can't change that reality. And there's just a bunch of weird, sloppy things about this game. The visuals don't look great. It's got this sort of weird style that I think would have looked a lot better on a mobile phone screen rather than on the big screen. When you look at it on the big screen, it just looks ugly. It's got kind of like weird, hokey controls and physics to Sonic that feel particularly frustrating and like unsatisfying. The music is not great. The sound fonts for the music are like kind of rough on the ears. There's like one good song from like episode 2 that even that one I wish it was in like a better sound font. They like combined like the old Genesis drums with like newer synths and it just sounds bad. And there's like there's this really weird issue where it has controller support, but the tutorials in the game are like broken and don't actually tell you what buttons to press. Or no, I don't think it has controller support. I don't think the first game has controller support, or maybe neither of them. There was weird shit getting controller to work and like understanding what the controls are. It's like the button mapping feels like unfinished because it just shows like a green square that's meant to represent like hitting the Y key on your keyboard or something like that. It had some ridiculous bullshit like that. And then there's just the fact that it's divided up into episodes as well, which is just kind of funny and sloppy. And then episode 2 also includes a bonus zone called Episode Metal, where you play as Metal Sonic. It's completely forgettable and adds nothing to the game. Like, I think there's not even like unique visual like assets for Episode Metal, if I remember correctly. Maybe I'm wrong on that. But Episode Metal was like truly nothing. People were like, dude, you don't have to play this. It's nothing. And I was like, I gotta play it. And then after that, I was like, yeah, that was nothing. So, yeah, press the red square button. Yeah, that was whack. So, these games, they're both kind of frustrating. They have like kind of shitty bosses, shitty level gimmicks. They look bad, they sound bad. It's just like, damn, I really feel bad for the devs of this game because they probably didn't expect for their game to be held up to as much scrutiny as it ended up being held to. So, I don't know, give this like a 5.5 each, and know that does not add up to an 11. Do not play. They're really not even funny. They're not even like funny bad, they're just bad. Okay, final one for now, Sonic Generations. This one was quite cool. It had some issues. One thing with Sonic games is that, especially like modern Sonic, I just don't really like the character Sonic. I don't find him to be enjoyable to watch. Like Mario in comparison, sorry for bringing up the M word here. In comparison, Mario is very like, you know, it's just he's like a relaxing nothing character where he's just like, he's just a very, very happy man. You know, and like with rare exception, he is just a happy, boisterous dude that says Yahoo a lot. And like, what is there to dislike about that? But Sonic, I've really never vibed with when he talked. I hate his stupid fucking obnoxious voice. I hate his like sassy 90s attitude. He's got a bunch of like weird gimmicks, like eating chili dogs. Why does he eat chili dogs? I hate Sonic. I hate when Sonic talks. Like, just the character, and he's such a like weird looking character design. Like the weird, like new long Sonic. Like old Sonic, like this in the sprite art in the old games looks a lot better. I think, than modern Sonic, where he's like the teeny bopper, like long leg Sonic. I just don't like him. I just don't really like anything about the character. I know he's not supposed to be a super deep character or anything, but I just don't really... I don't know. Anyway, this was a good game, though. It's not like modern Sonic, like, brought it down or anything, but that is just an aspect of the game. Like, when basically any time I've ever, like... Because I've played Sonic 06 before, too. I know that's, like, one of the worst of the worst, but, that was another one where I was just like, man, he just comes across like so obnoxious and annoying. And especially, you know, I feel like this is something that is exacerbated by the fact that Sonic in crossover materials, like something like Smash Brothers, is always like a pompous dick. Where he's like, I'm the best, you're too slow, I'm awesome, I'm so fast and cool. And it's like, dude, Sonic, you suck, I hate you. Like, I don't know, he's so unlikable. Especially in like crossover stuff, which I think is part of what leads people to like, because I know a lot of people really kind of hate Sonic. I think his appearances in something like Smash Brothers are a lot of what contributes to that like perception of him. He's not even that fast. Yeah, we want to like bust out the game theory thing where we point out that Dr. Robotnik can outrun Sonic on foot, as proved in like Sonic 1 or 2, I think. Anyway, Sonic Generations, let's talk about the actual fucking game instead of the politics of like modern Sonic. It's not even politics. That's just how I feel. Sorry if people feel like Sonic gets overly hated on. I kind of get why. Like, bad track record of games, really loud, obnoxious character. I get it. Like, I get why he would be a divisive character. But in the end, I think I would recommend this game. It is a fun little, like, it's not meant to be taken super seriously. This was basically Sega going, okay, we've tried so many weird experimental things with Sonic. What if we just have, like, a big, like, nostalgia-gasm game? Where we have, like, all the best levels from all the previous games. Yes, even Sonic 06. And, you know, we just have a little variety. You got some side-scrolling levels, you got some 3D levels, you got City Escape. It's fun. I think it was generally fun. As my first, like, exposure to, like, 3D Sonic, I enjoyed the 3D Sonic segments. The character is not so obnoxious that it gets in the way of the game being fun. There were a couple of frustrating, annoying moments, and by the game's end, I was a little bored with it, so I injected this, like, weird mod into the game that made the physics, like, absolutely ridiculous. That was fun to goof around with. But, you know, it's fun. It's got a lot of levels. It's got a lot of variety. It's got the classic feature of the nostalgia game where you can play the old game in the game. So you can just, like, play Sonic 1. I wonder if that version of Sonic 1 has... spin dashing in it, actually. I'd be curious to see. I don't think it did, if memory serves. But all around, just a decent package. I remember the final boss was kind of annoying in the sense that it was like, you're not even like running on the ground when you fight the final boss. You're like floating in the air, and it was really like jank and annoying. But it wasn't that bad. It was an inoffensive, very safe game. I would consider Sonic Generations to be a similar type of thing to like New Super Mario Brothers, where it's like they did not try to reinvent the wheel. They just tried to like stick with the classics, have a little like feast of the classics, and that's fine. Like, that is acceptable. I'd give it like a 7.5. Would recommend, I guess. And now we're done. So next time I will do a little bit of research on these games and then fill in the blanks there. Guys, we're so close to the end of the list. That's so crazy. Absolutely fucking wild that we've come this far. And maybe by the time I do another one of these streams, I will have finished We Heart Katamari or Bikmin or something, and I can review those too. Hope you guys had a good time. Your stream has no channel balls. Are you talking about channel points? Yeah, we don't have channel points here, sorry. You know why? It's because if you turn them on, you can never disable them. So I'm like scared to turn them on because I don't want people to show up to the streams because they have a gambling addiction. I want people to show up to the streams because they like watching the stream. You know? So yeah, no balls. Sorry. Uh, like, whenever I see channel point stuff on other channels, it always just seems like it gets in the way of, like, having an actually enjoyable stream. So, whatever. Okay, we're done. I'll do, like, Metal Slug. This is another one. I'm gonna have to refresh my memory on, like, Metal Slug 6 and 7. I don't really remember too well. I gotta remember the deal with the Chex Quest. Voice crack! I gotta remember the deal with the Chex Quest games, because some of those were remakes and some of them are the originals, I think. Next stream, I think I'll try to do all this, as well as all the, patch up all the holes that we can. Maybe I'll even do Deltarune next stream. I've been holding off on reviewing that, but I think, why wait? Just review the first 2 chapters and then change it when the final game comes out. So next stream we'll try to do all this, and maybe I'll like skip ahead and do like the Humongous Entertainment games or something, and then I'll have one stream where it's just all Souls talk the whole time. That'll be so cool. I'm so looking forward to that. Okay. I can't control F. Did he play Sonic Forces? No. And if you click inside the spreadsheet, then you can control F. It's a little confusing. I wish it wasn't like that. Okay. Ooh, I'm tired of talking. Let's go raid somebody. How about it? Vinny's still going? I might just like go with Vinny. Fuck it. No, he's not even going. Do I want to raid? Oh god, Kit Boga's live. That's cool. Northern Lion is live. Trump or Biden 2024 is live. Yeah, let's raid them. That's awesome. No, let's raid Northern Lion. Fuck it. He's playing Shogun Showdown. No relation to Samurai Showdown? No, this is like a Slay the Spire style game. Weird. Okay. Trump or Biden 2024. Why is that a recommended channel for me? Why? So keep bugging me about these. Thank you for doing that. We will bang out this series in the not so distant future. I feel it in my bones. And then we will be caught up, and then it can just be a nice little occasional thing, and it will no longer be a monkey on my back. That's going to be so satisfying when we get there. And look forward to entire stream talking about Dark Souls, entire stream talking about Street Fighter. Should be fun. Take it easy, guys.